Hello my friends, welcome to this quick video where I quickly want to show you how to play against Mages Botlane. Mages Botlane are currently pretty strong and they are also played in international tournaments like MSI right now, so I just want to give you some tips on how you can approach it. Who am I to tell you though? I'm a multi-season challenger player, was full-time pro player myself, and now let's go straight into the video. When we're playing into Mages Botlane, then we need to understand a few things. So the first one is what's the difference between us and actually the enemy champion. So let's take a look at Zivi here right now, that I am in this example, and the enemy Syndra. The biggest difference is that Syndra is a champion that obviously deals magic damage, right? And she relies hard on her spells. So the difference towards me is that I rely on my auto tags most of the time dealing damage, and Syndra relies on spells. The second one, it's our first waves. So if we are talking about the first waves, what I mean with that is usually the first, like, let's say 3 to 4 waves, because these waves are the most important waves in League, and usually mages on level 1 have like low amount of damage or like only a short burst damage, right? And people always underestimate how much damage they do. But here, for example, Sinra will throw one spell, Ziggs will throw one spell, Cassio will throw one spell, Vel'Koz, you know, and so on. And it's really important to play around this, because what I usually do and into mages a lot of time is like looking at my first waves. So let's say, for example, these are my first waves, right? And then I can think about slow pushing the first, slow pushing second, crashing the third wave, for example. So I'm based on this wave and I can actually grab a Carl. Carl really nice into mages because you can actually heal up a bit and you have like super good scaling. Then third point, it's actually scaling, because a lot of crit AD carries or AD carries in general simply scale way better than mages, and you will have a better damage share in your team. In this example, they have Z, so it's a bit different, but usually AD carries scale really well. Okay, and now I would say we go straight into our first waves, which are really important. And the most important part is to track enemy cooldowns. So I'm the Zivi here, I'm just throwing a Q, you know, just dealing some damage, it's okay. Because I already know that I probably want to base like on wave 3 or something like this. So I'm playing here, you see my Leona kind of blocked. Okay, that's already like pretty fine. And you see the moment that like Syndra is actually throwing his spell or her spell, whatever, I'm clicking up. So now what I try to do is, I know the enemies have a lot of cooldown, so I try to step up and do like some sort of damage to the enemy. So what happens now is, I'm basically just playing on my second wave. I get a level up timer here on wave 2. So it's really chill for me. And now we have the scenario where I could have taken my W, which would probably been way better instead of taking my E and basically wasting it. And now I could just auto take the wave, W the wave, Q the wave, and then I would probably just get a base in. Syndra plays no TP, so I will have a really good state on the bouncing wave again that is coming into my side. What happens now is that sadly I'm just getting stunned, right? Pretty bad by me. Leona's not able to kind of block. So I'm just dying here, which sucks of course, but it's live. So now I didn't get my car, but I hope you got the theory behind it, because like in theory I could have crashed the third wave here and then I would have like a great time. Another pretty important aspect when you're playing against mages is imagine you're playing mid lane, right? So you usually want to click pretty close at your character. Because if the enemy is like throwing a skill shot, you don't want to have like your cursor here or here, because then it will be pretty hard to dodge. Let's say, right, the skill shot is coming and your mouse is like here, then it's pretty hard to dodge down here. So keeping a character, or like keeping your cursor close to your character, that is pretty important when you're playing against any champions that have skill shot, and that can be mages of course. So here we have another game. I'm playing into Seraphine and Wei, and I have Nautilus. I'm the Jinx here in this example. So it's kind of the same thing again. What I try to do is I always click up whenever like I'm taking a minion. And you see here I'm like kind of trying to dodge the spell, which I'm not really doing right now. I have not the best spacing, but this is the theory that I'm using. Like here, for example, I'm dodging the spell. So now you see I'm just walking up on the enemies and trying to basically do as much damage as I can, because in the long run I will always lose. But the difference that we have again, right, is that we are actually playing a champion that has a lot of pushing powers, and the enemy mages are obviously pretty useless. Here we're finding a good hook. I'm skilling my traps a bit late, so this way should have been dead, but it's still the same theory. So the early waves, we now have the third wave, so I'm kind of slow pushing the first two, right? And now the third wave, I kind of want to hard push, and then by hard pushing this, I can actually grab my Kal and then just get a recall in. So even though I need to trade a lot of HP for like this to get into this position, you know, I'm still fine because I still have double summoners up, and now I'm basically getting a free base. Sadly, I missed the Ken minion, so instead of buying a Kal, I'm only buying a long sword, but this is basically a good recall for me. So now I'm freezing here, so I'm chilling, also really nice to do. Into mages, the wave crashed, and now, since we forced summoners on the timer before, the wave is actually getting cooked here. We get a free kill on the way, and now I just want to show you like how it looks after the early laning phase, let's say, because the like early laning phase is kind of over now. So let's see what we do now into mages. It's pretty important. Like you see me here, I'm always trying to hide behind the minions, so I'm not getting poked that often. And whenever my Nautilus is, for example, looking for something, I want to be in proximity to my Nautilus. So the moment he hooks in here, that I can immediately follow up with my traps. Right, he's going out here. Okay, I'm getting chunked again. You see, I'm just standing behind my minions for now, not really doing that much. I bought my cull, I'm chilling, and yeah, that's like the biggest difference. All I do was getting my pushes in the early game. Now luckily I just get a lot of kills, and now I will be in a really good lane state, right? And basically, this was only because my first waves were like pretty nice. Now I sneaked into lane here, actually caught the enemy way because I knew, okay, this guy really wants to touch the next wave. And from now on, it's just important that you keep playing really aggressive into these mages, so you never really run into a position where the enemy can chunk you down. Like here, for example, what I'm doing is really bad. I didn't really dodge anything. Now I got like fully hit. Luckily, I could trade the kill, but in theory, if the way didn't troll, then my condition would have been really bad. But again, it's the pushing power that I have in this example, and by that, it's way easier to play the game. So as a TLDR, you should really look at your early waves and how you want to play them, and like if you can contest like pushes. Then most important part is actually tracking the enemy cooldowns. So if the enemy is like trolling spell level 1, like whatever mage you're playing into, you will usually have a good time. The moment level 1, they're just using their spell, because then you can kind of fight, because your auto attacks are dealing way more damage. Then closer clicks to your character, because you actually want to dodge a lot of things. And as already mentioned, the cheater recall after the third wave is usually pretty good into mages. It was only a quick video, but I hope I could help you at least a bit into mages. I know it's really annoying. It's also a bit draft depending, like on what AD carry you kind of pick, because there are a few that are better into mages and a few that are worse. Still, thank you for watching. If you're still here, feel free to check out my coaching Discord or my Patreon, and I'm wishing you a nice day. Goodbye.